My name is Caleb, and I'm a ghost hunter. Not the kind with EMF meters and EVP recorders chasing whispers in the dark. I hunt the ghosts of places. I'm an urban explorer. For years, I've documented the decay of forgotten buildings for a small but dedicated online audience. I've walked to the halls of abandoned asylums, crawled through the ruins of forgotten factories, and stood in the silence of decaying shopping malls. But in the world of Urbex, there are legends. Holy grails, places so inaccessible, so shrouded in mystery that they become myths. For me, and for everyone in my community, that myth was the Grand Meridian Hotel. Built in 1928, the Grand Meridian was a monument to opulence and access. A 20-story Art Deco masterpiece, it was the jewel of the city. Then, on a single, ordinary Tuesday in October of 1973, it closed. There was no bankruptcy, no scandal, no grand farewell. The doors were locked, the windows were boarded up, and the Grand Meridian was simply abandoned. The official story was structural issues, a problem with the foundation that made the building unsafe. But the rumors told a different story. They said the staff and guests had vanished, that the hotel hadn't been emptied, but sealed. A time capsule from a bygone era. For 50 years, it stood there, a silent, monolithic tomb in the heart of the city. Every attempt to explore it had failed. The doors were welded shut, the lower windows bricked over. It was a fortress. Finding a way in became my obsession. It took me 2 years of studying old blueprints, of bribing city clerks for sanitation tunnel maps, of late nights staring at the building's impenetrable facade. And then I found it. A forgotten coal chute hidden behind a rusted grate in a sub-basement that connected to the city's old steam tunnel network. It was a long shot, a dangerous one, but it was a way in. After hours of crawling through suffocatingly narrow tunnels, my flashlight beam finally fell upon a heavy iron door. The chute. It was rusted shut, but with a crowbar and all the strength I could muster, I managed to pry it open with a groan of tortured metal. I tumbled out into a cavernous, pitch-black space, the air thick with the smell of dust, stale air, and something else, something faintly sweet, like old perfume. I switched on my headlamp. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a vast, silent kitchen. Gleaming copper pots hung from racks. A stack of plates sat beside a deep porcelain sink as if waiting to be washed. Everything was covered in a thick, uniform layer of gray dust, a soft blanket laid down by 50 years of silence. It was pristine. It was perfect. I had done it. I was inside the Grand Meridian Hotel. I made my way from the kitchens to the main lobby, and that's when I first saw them. The lobby was a breathtaking sight, a cathedral of Art Deco design. Marble floors, gilded columns, a grand staircase sweeping upwards into the gloom. But it wasn't empty. It was filled with people. A woman in a fur coat, her hand resting on a suitcase. A bellboy, his back ramrod straight, holding a luggage cart. A man in a tuxedo, laughing, a champagne flute held halfway to his lips. A small girl holding a single red balloon. They were all there, frozen in the middle of their lives. They were mannequins. Incredibly, disturbingly lifelike mannequins. I walked among them, my footsteps echoing in the vast, silent space. The detail was astonishing. Every wrinkle on the laughing man's face, every stray hair on the woman's head, the scuff marks on the bellboy's shoes. They weren't just mannequins, they were portraits, sculpted with a level of artistry I had never seen. I reached out and touched the hand of the woman with the fur coat. The skin was cold, hard and waxy, but underneath it felt real. The texture was too perfect. I pulled my hand back, a shiver down my spine. The uncanny valley was a vast, deep chasm in this place. I spent hours exploring, my camera clicking away, documenting everything. The hotel was a perfect time capsule. In the ballroom, a band was set up on stage, their instruments gleaming under my headlamp. On the dance floor, couples were frozen mid-twirl. In the dining room, tables were set for dinner, plates of dusty, petrified food still waiting for guests who would never arrive. And everywhere, there were the stills, as I started to call them, hundreds of them, in every room, on every floor, each one a perfect silent monument to a single captured moment. It was on the 7th floor that the wrongness began to truly set in. I entered a suite, the door left slightly ajar. Inside, a man was sitting in an armchair, a book open on his lap. I took a picture, the flash illuminating the room for a split second. I lowered my camera and looked again. The man's head was now tilted slightly to the left, his gaze directed towards the window. I froze. I could have sworn he was looking straight ahead a moment ago. I told myself it was a trick of the light, my mind playing games on me and the oppressive silence, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I moved on, trying to ignore the gnawing unease. I found the hotel's library, a magnificent 2-story room lined with books from floor to ceiling. Behind a large oak desk sat a figure I assumed was the hotel manager. He was a stern-looking man with a neatly trimmed mustache and spectacles perched on his nose. He was looking down at a guest ledger, a fountain pen poised in his hand. I filmed the scene, panning my camera across the desk. That's when I saw it. On the polished surface of the desk, a faint, fleeting mist appeared directly in front of the manager's face, a wisp of condensation, like a phantom breath in the cold, dead air. It vanished as quickly as it appeared. I watched the video back again and again. It was there, a breath from a statue of wax and plaster. My heart was now a frantic drum against my ribs. I backed out of the library, my eyes locked on the still figure of the manager. I needed to understand. I needed answers. I remembered seeing a door marked Architect's Office on the top floor, the penthouse. It was a long shot, but it was the only lead I had. Penthouse was a monument to ego, lavish furniture, exotic art, and a massive desk overlooking the city through a floor-to-ceiling window. On the desk was a leather-bound journal, the Architect's Journal. I opened it, my hands trembling. The pages were filled with elegant looping script and complex diagrams. I started to read. The architect, a man named Alistair Finch, was a genius, but he was also a man obsessed with perfection, with permanence. He saw the world as a place of chaos and decay, and he despised it. The Grand Meridian was to be his masterpiece, his defiance of time. He wrote of a theory, a way to manipulate temporal mechanics on a localized scale. He wasn't just building a hotel, he was building a preservation machine. Time is a river, he wrote. It flows, it erodes, it destroys. But what if one could build a dam, a place where the river of time is held back, preserving a single, perfect moment in an eternal, unchanging pool? The journal described a massive apparatus built into the foundation of the hotel, powered by the city's steam grid. It was designed to create a stasis field, capturing the hotel and everyone in it on that final Tuesday in October 1973. But there was a flaw in his design, a terrible, cruel flaw. The stasis field was not perfect. It was a closed system, and it required a catalyst to maintain its integrity. It needed an exchange. To preserve a moment, he wrote, a new moment must be introduced. For one to be held in stillness, another must be released from it. The final entry was chilling. The field is active. The preservation is a success. They are all so beautiful, so perfect. An eternal tableau, but the mechanism requires a sacrifice. The oldest preserved specimen will be released, and the newcomer will take its place, their forms slowly yielding to the stillness. A new piece for the collection, a necessary price for perfection. I too will join them soon. I will be the silent, eternal observer in my perfect, unchanging world. As I read the last words, I felt a strange stiffness in my fingers. I tried to close the journal, but my hand was slow, sluggish. A cold, creeping paralysis was spreading through my limbs. I looked down at my hands. My skin looked pale, waxy. I was becoming a still. The architect's final insane design was working. I was the catalyst. I was the exchange. Panic gave me a final surge of adrenaline. I had to get out. I stumbled out of the penthouse, my movements clumsy and stiff. I had to get to the coal chute. As I burst out onto the grand staircase, I saw him. The bellboy, the one from the lobby. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs, but he wasn't still anymore. He was moving. His head turned, the movement slow and jerky, accompanied by a faint, dry cracking sound like old plaster breaking. His waxy painted eyes, which had been staring blankly ahead for 50 years, slowly focused on me. A faint, dusty breath escaped his parted lips. He was coming back to life. I tried to run, but my legs were heavy, disobedient. I was moving through molasses. The bellboy took a step, then another, his movements becoming smoother and more fluid with each passing second. He was walking towards the front door, towards the life that had been stolen from him 50 years ago. My life. He was leaving, and I was taking his place. I am writing this, thou
not with a pen, but in my mind. My body is frozen, a statue of terror in the grand lobby of the Meridian Hotel. I am standing by the grand staircase, my headlamp still cutting a path through the dusty air, my camera clutched in a hand that will never move again. I can see the bellboy, a young man no older than 20, looking at the sealed front doors with a mixture of fear and wonder. He doesn't see me. I am just another part of the scenery now, another perfect, silent piece in the architect's collection. I can feel the last of my warmth leaving me, the last of my life. The hotel is quiet again. The stillness has returned, and I will stand here for 50 years, or 100, or until another fool with a love for forgotten places finds his way in, and then I will walk out that door. Until then, I will wait, I will watch, and I will be still.